Not too long ago, I made a video picking the worst routes in every Pokemon region. Today, I want to do the inverse and instead look at the best paths we have ever traveled. Not gonna lie though, this is a lot more difficult. Fortunately for us fans, there are a lot more good than bad routes, so there were some tough decisions to be made. I also decided to only consider locations that feel like walking through nature as routes for this video. So, simply put, the Seafoam Islands count, but the Power Plant or Pokemon Mansion do not. Those are landmarks, I'd say, and who knows, I might do a video on those later. With that said, let's get started. Of course we're gonna start in Kanto, where we definitely need to look at named locations, since most actual routes in this game are definitely a product of their time. It's easy to say with 30 years of hindsight, but Kanto has a serious identity problem compared to the other regions, with most of its routes being serviceable but nothing too exciting anymore. My first instinct was to give the crown to the Savvy Islands, but the problem here is that while this is my favorite area in Kanto when all put together, the routes and areas individually are not better than the best Kanto has to offer. And that is the Safari Zone. Well, it wasn't until recent videos from fellow PokeTubers that I would finally understand how this area even worked and how janky it really is. Something about this reserve filled with extremely rare and cool Pokemon had me absolutely gripped as a child. And it's still something special as an adult now. The idea of a Safari Zone would return in later games, all the more proof of how great this concept is, but never with the same magic return. There's something about the way Kanto's Safari Zone is designed that just works very well. The size is an important factor there, and while mostly pointless at the end of the day, I always really like the detail of the rest houses. They help remind you that despite this area feeling untamed, it's really a controlled environment and a tourist attraction as well. Amazing as the Safari Zone was, Johto didn't have one until the remakes Heart Gold and Soul Silver. While that version is not even remotely as good as the original, it did give us one of Johto's best, but also most forgotten areas. The road leading up to it is an incredible journey along the cliffside, and one of my favorite places in Johto period, even without the nostalgia points. However, it cannot be picked as Johto's best area for this video, because it is a combination between two locations, Route 47 and Cliff Cave. And when separated, they fall short of the runner-up, who now takes the lead and is in my opinion the best area in Johto, the National Park. In a way, this area is reminiscent of the Safari Zone, but it goes for a completely different aesthetic. Instead of wild and untamed, this is cozy, spacious and a lovely rustic area in between your travels from route to route. And of course, there are also the similarities between the Safari game and the bug catching contest. While the contest itself is definitely not as fun as the Safari game, I do like the competitive aspect of it. As for the park itself, the crown jewel is of course the Pokeball design with the fountain in the middle, but I've also always appreciated this little courtyard at the south. There's effectively nothing here, but there's a very peaceful vibe to it. I always like seeing it when you first enter. Onto Hoenn, where route designs really started improving, and as such, this is the first region where an actual route wins the title. Route 119 is located right in the middle of the region, and kicks off the second part of the game in the most spectacular way. Hoenn had already had some routes earlier in the game that were something entirely new when the game first came out, like the desert route of 111 or the ash-covered Route 113, and the same applies to Route 119 and its tropical style. And not only does it have the vibes on lock, this route is also jam-packed with content. There's the Weather Institute, where you can obtain a cast form, there's a lot of potential places for a secret base, and of course, the infamous Feebas hunt. You all know how insane that last one is in the original Ruby and Sapphire, so let's just say you'll be seeing this route a lot if a complete Pokédex is what you're after. This route also features a special Kecleon encounter using the Devon Scope, and is also the only place in Hoenn where you can find Tropius. Now I haven't even mentioned the long grass and the rain pouring down, both of which may be staples now, but were a completely new sight at the time. As a region, Hoenn really felt like a new chapter in the series, and Route 119 embodies that to the fullest. Now, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I've always found the design of Sinnoh to be a bit of a step back compared to Hoenn. The route design itself is still stellar and super intricate, but the themes blend together a whole lot more than they do in Hoenn, and the over-reliance on HMs makes them less fun to explore than they could have been. But of course, there are still plenty of great areas in Diamond and Pearl, all accompanied by some amazing music to boot, with my favorite being Eterna Forest. While many titles have an early game forest, none have one with an aesthetic like this. A little ominous, a little mysterious, almost as if we know the old chateau is haunted without being able to set foot inside during our first visit. Instead, we are accompanied by a partner named Cheryl, the first for the series, which shakes up your initial walkthrough quite a lot. 2 wild Pokémon spawn at a time, and she heals your Pokémon after every battle, making this a great place to train up stragglers on your team. And so, I have a lot of fond memories of Eterna Forest, which is a great location from both a lore as well as gameplay perspective. And it's relevant for collectors as well, since Eterna Forest is the only place where wild Baneri can be found and the location of the Moss Rock. Onto Unova, which is where in my opinion route designs peaked. This region has both the intricate layouts of the titles that came before it, but also the amazing aesthetics and theming of the later 3D titles. I could talk for hours about how almost each of the areas in this region is sprawling with character, and just a joy to traverse and explore, but I'll keep things short by highlighting a few. Route 23, the area before Victory Road and Black and White 2, is in my opinion one of the best routes in Pokémon history in terms of path design. Not only is this route massive, the way the elevated paths essentially form 2 routes is insane. Only once has this concept been done better in a route we'll get to later. Another favorite of mine is the Desert Resort. Not only is it sprawling with new and unique Pokémon, with the spotlight on Darmanitan of course, it also contains the Relic Castle, one of my favorite hidden locations in Unova. That said, my winner might be a little surprising, it's Village Bridge. Is this a route? Or is it a small town? I've personally always viewed it as a route, and if so, I consider it to be the best in the region. The design of this bridge is truly something special. Unova has a lot of them, but most are just straight walkways. Village Bridge is oozing with charm and character, and complete with all different kind of locales to check out. You've got residents, but also wild Pokémon. Sports courts are added in Black and White too, while the originals have a sort of food truck where you can participate in a little minigame. The music is also stellar, and since this is a post-game area in the original Black and White, it also contains non-Unova Pokémon, making exploring it worthwhile. All in all, Village Bridge is an area I can only describe as something special, and while I won't accept slander for this traditional bridge, I can accept it if you're of the opinion it isn't a route. I have always considered it one, but it's, ironically enough, not so black and white. Kalos of course was the first region to be presented to us in 3D, which meant the presentation was able to be improved big time, but also started a trend of route designs that became less explorable and more linear. Kalos has a lot of hallway routes as they've come to be known, but I still think most are fun to traverse through. Starting in Unova, Game Freak began to let real-life inspirations influence region designs more and more, and that definitely caused the themes of routes to flourish. The days of paths blending together as you would sometimes get in Kanto or Johto has definitely ended by now. Each area of the game has its own individual identity and qualities. Before we get to the winner, I have to give an honorable mention here to Route 14, also known as the Laverne Nature Trail, a gloomy and mysterious swamp that starts with a playground that suddenly becomes quite eerie because of this. There's also the scary house here, which further helps build an atmosphere that we hadn't found on full routes much up until this game. Individual buildings, sure, but an entire route was next level. However, my favorite route from X and Y is Route 8, Morille Coast. Remember the praise I gave to Route 47 and Cliff Cave from Johto, as well as Route 23 from Black and White? This area feels like that, but on steroids. The route consists of both the rocky cliff sides as well as the beach below, which makes for another masterclass in route design using elevation. While there aren't many side things to do here, the 2 paths mean there is a large amount of Pokémon diversity to be found here, some of which exclusively, not counting Friend Safari. Game Freak was already close to making an amazing elevated route several times before, but in Kalos they finally nailed it. In Alola, I would say both the positives and negatives of Kalos are amplified. On one hand, the tropical theme of this game is an absolute delight, and every area really nails the vibe that comes with that. It leads to not one or two, but several amazing locales that we haven't seen much in the series at all. I'm talking Lush Jungle, Whale Volcano Park and Mount Hokulani for example. But all of these also show the negative side of Alola. The layouts are often disappointing, feeling too linear and confined. They're less straight path than Kalos I would say, but they still lack a sense of freedom. That said, my favorite area of the game is ironically enough the one not based on Hawaii and its tropical themes. I'm talking about Mali Garden, a city garden built to be a mini Johto of sorts. Now, first of all, I am an absolute sucker for urban wilderness. I haven't been able to bring it up in this video, since those areas aren't routes, but I love it when we come across wild Pokémon within a city. And yes, that means Legend ZA has me very excited. Anyway, not only does Mali Garden fit that description, the many references to previous Pokémon games, with the replica bell tower and Nugget Bridge, as well as just generally the Japanese inspired design, really brings a smile to my face in every playthrough of the Alola games. This area really is out of left field for Alola, and I think that's why I gravitate towards it so much. We continue with Galar, and I don't think it's controversial to say most of this region's routes are not the best in the series. I do think they're overhated though, mind you. Most of them look very good. I really like the aesthetics in almost every area we travel through. But from a layout perspective, these routes aren't as strong as could be, and they severely lack in actual worthwhile events or side things to do. But that last part was something Game Freak realized as well, leading to the best area in Galar being included in the Crown Tundra, Bellemere Lake. Not only are there tons of cool Pokémon wandering around in the wild here, like Tyrantrum and Dragonite, it's also the location of Dynatree Hill, arguably Galar's most recognizable landmark that isn't in a town or city. This tree kicks off the hunt for the Galarian legendary birds, and also contains the bizarre but fun Greedent raid, where we fight a level 92 Greedent to receive a ton of berries. Furthermore, Bellemere Lake is the location where Keldeo can be found, a historic moment in the series in and of itself, and it contains a mysterious gravestone that eventually allows you to catch Spiritomb after completing its little side mission. Point being, there's a lot to do in Bellemere Lake, and that alone is something Galar sorely needed within its borders. I want to briefly tackle Hisui next, as I think picking one specific area in this game as the best is nearly impossible. I could do the worst, because one area annoyed me to no end, but the best one is a lot more tricky. After all, Legends Arceus is all about exploring untamed nature, and that means there are barely any clear defining features in each of the game's areas. I would say that my favorite though is found in the first region of the game, the Obsidian Fieldlands, being the Hardwood. Of course, a big benefit for every area in the Obsidian Fieldlands really is that they were the first ever open world area we got to experience, and for me, and I suspect many others, that was something magical. But while exploring its plains and hills was awesome enough, I really got excited when I crossed the Tidewater Dam and entered the Hardwood. While this forest does have a path leading up to the Grand Tree Arena, where we fight the noble Cleavor, something about it feels very peaceful and calm. For the first time in Legends Arceus, it felt like I was truly in nature for a bit, and it brought me back to how I pictured going through Viridian Forest as a little kid on my Game Boy. It's a beautiful area, I think, one I enjoyed the first time and whenever I return to catch shinies or work on my Pokédex. And finally we have Paldea, the region that ended up ditching traditional routes altogether in mainline Pokémon. That said, I actually think the areas in this game are way more pronounced than in Legends Arceus though, so separating between them was a lot easier. Before we get to the final winner of this video, I want to give an honorable mention to Sokara Trail, which is right next to the worst area of the game, Castle Royale Lake. This area has a fall theme, making it a lovely area to explore and extremely unique compared to what we've seen in the games previously. And it also has the Ground Blight Shrine, meaning there's at least some reward to exploring this area. But even with its nice little aesthetic, Sokara Trail can't run with the best area in Paldea and one of the best in Pokemon history, Area 0. Not only is it the setting for the best ending sequence in the series, and the subject of some of its coolest lore, it's also just an incredible area outright. Everything about it feels like we've been teleported to an alternate world. Paradox Pokémon are bizarre, the layout is insane, and the music is ominous and haunting. As you go deeper and deeper into the crater, especially during the main story, you are left wondering what could be waiting for you, only to result in the awesome climax of the game or encounters with legendary Pokémon on subsequent visits. Area 0 is a location I don't think any of us will forget anytime soon, and in my opinion is the best in Paldea by a landslide. And that have been my takes. Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know your favorite routes in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel to stay updated on all my future Pokemon content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.